Lucky number 12.
God, what did I get done this week?
We all just like fucking died.
Just test it out.
Get a felony.
What am I doing with my life?
Maybe that is like a good way to parent.
This guy is insane.
I came out super hot.
I need to get back home.
I don't think it's gonna work.
It'll work.
It's like a cult.
Oh, okay, I signed up.
If you want to be in our sick group, send Steven an email.
Fuck that, we're gonna get it done.
All right, well, we haven't recorded in a while, just like schedules and stuff like that. So, I mean, what did you get done this week?
Month? How long has it been?
Month? I don't even know.
2 months?
We recorded in 2024.
Okay, I think it was the start of 2024.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's been a good year so far. What did I get done?
Did you have a bad December, like growth wise?
Yeah.
Shame. It was fucking. I remember at like middle of December, I was just like, I think next year is like my last year running this bit. Like I was like so like depressed because like I mean we weren't like it wasn't bad. It just like we weren't growing like as fast as we were.
Yeah.
And it's just like super depressing. But then January like kicking ass, February kicking ass. So.
Right.
It's good. But then I know there's like a summer slump I feel like coming sometimes with software.
Yeah. I mean, December is definitely the worst month because people just aren't working.
Yeah, they're on vacation, they're not making whatever, they're out of budget, like all this type of stuff. And like even for us, it's like the busiest time for like our customers, which like we have like a lot of D2C brands and stuff like that. So they're all just like focused on their business, not like building new systems and things like that. But what'd you get done this week?
God, what did I get done this week? So, I don't know if I talked about this, but I've set up an internal meeting called Done This Week.
Yeah.
Where we do it every Friday. And it's probably the best meeting we run. So we do the Monday meeting that's like, what do you want to get done this week? Mm-hmm. And then it's all transcribed. And then on Friday, we say, here's what you wanted to get done. What did you actually get done? So I haven't done that yet because we're on a Thursday. So I have to think on the fly. You start. What did you get done this week?
This week, it's honestly like a bunch of bullshit. So I did a lot of grant application stuff. We're like working with like a bank or not even a bank, like a consulting firm to do like a bunch of like grants and stuff like that. And like they're all like looking like very promising. Like one, like what we have in Canada is like called TRED, which is like pretty good. You get like a percentage back on like research and development projects. And then we're also doing like IRAP, which is the same thing, but it's not as innovation focused. It's like more of like business case focused. They want commercialization of products. And then we're doing like a Canadian export one, whatever. So anyway, but like horrible calls to like be on, like the most like mentally draining. Like they're asking these questions that like, they're just like not well like they're general questions that are supposed to apply to like every single business. And like, I don't know how to be like, this question like literally doesn't apply to us or I need to lie to you.
Right.
For, like
for the grant.
Like it's literally like, it's just not even like applicable of a question. Like I can't, there's not even like a no answer, it's like that just isn't, that doesn't have an answer. So I've been doing like some like, I guess like bullshitting and just whatever. We're like moving offices tomorrow. So I've done like, in my spare time, like between calls, like packing up like random shit in the office. And I mean, it's just like crushing bugs and like working on that kind of stuff. So, and I've like started to like really take LinkedIn a little bit seriously, which I came out super hot. Like first post I did, it was like almost like 1,000 likes, like 100,000 impressions on like the third day now. And like I'm like averaging like 15 to 20,000.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what I'm going to do is just 30 days straight, post every single day, Saturday and Sunday as well, and be like reevaluate at the end of the month. Okay, because this is something I want to build systems around or like get like a small team or like some help doing. Because it is like to do it right is like, it's fun though, like to like think about what, post. Because I'm also just I'm shifting my mindset for like, I'm going to post something valuable that also is aligned with my business to like my mindset is like, it needs to be relatively related to marketing. And I'm just trying for it to go viral. Right. And so like, it's actually like a pretty fun exercise.
And like just whatever you're interested in will like naturally be better. We've been working with a lot of like LinkedIn influencers, like paying for posts now. Mm-hmm. And LinkedIn is such a backward social media. Like I feel like text performs the best, then images, then video.
Yeah. Carousels work, I think, better than images.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
But like the carousels are the PDFs. I mean, like, I think if you like also reverse engineer why that works, it's just because like people are usually on LinkedIn at work and like maybe sound off or like they don't want to be looked at like watching videos or something like that.
Yeah.
I know I never watch video on LinkedIn. Like I'm always just like scrolling, and the carousels are cool. So anyway, that's been kind of cool and fun and like an interesting exercise. It's a good writing exercise, which being like, hey, what's the hook, and like how do I follow this up? So I think it's been a lot of fun.
I've been a guest on a few podcasts, and one I went on recently, the guys were like, personal brand. So they both have these two strong personal brands in this like sales niche. So like as famous as you could be in the
I mean the sales
B2B
niche you can get pretty famous.
I guess like Grant Cardone.
Jordan Belfort. Like,
yeah,
you know, sure. Like
I mean
he's famous for
a lot of things.
Fraud, not and then like the sales came after. He's like, oh, I'm also good at sales. So maybe that's the fucking move. We should all just catch a felony, just any felony, and then all you need to do is get a felony, find someone to write a script, and then get Leonardo DiCaprio to play in a movie, and like you're pretty much set to like sell courses for the rest of your life.
Yeah, he's done well.
Yeah, good on him. Good movie. Honestly, one of my favorite movies. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, you've been paying for LinkedIn posts?
No, I mean that's really
that images and videos don't really work. Text
like they were all like text. Oh no, so I was on the podcast. That's what it was, and they were like their whole thing of their podcast was they asked questions, and then they're like at the end we like to flip it. Yeah. So if you can ask like a question of us, and I was like, okay, I didn't really prepare for this, but and then I was like, well, okay, say you're a founder of like a B2B SaaS company, how much of your time do you invest in like personal branding? And they were like, as much as you can. Like they were so pro that, and I guess they're biased because like all their business of what they do has been a result of their personal brand, and there are people that are like very much in the shadows that have made hundreds of millions of dollars, and they'll tell you like it's a waste of time.
Right.
So it's like
there's a million, there's like, what is it, like a million ways to skin a cat or something? Yeah. Like you can 100% never post anything and build $1 billion company.
Right.
Or you can like do like, I think the personal brand side of things is cool for like a couple of reasons. Like one, it's like, I don't know, the people around you can like know kind of like what you're up to. Right. And so like when you like meet up with people, like, I don't know, like there is this like level of like awareness of like what you're working on. They ask questions and like, and you don't need to like have a call with like every single person in your life. But then also it's like you actually just get to connect with like more people that you would have never connected with.
Right.
And so like I haven't put that much time into my personal brand, but I kind of like quote unquote build in public, and I'm like pretty public like on Twitter and LinkedIn specifically. And when I travel, like I almost always like end up having a dinner with someone like randomly from the internet.
Right.
And all of those are like net positive experiences.
Right.
And so I think if you like extrapolate, okay, like if that's been like the product of 15 months, I guess, of like me kind of like doing this a little bit without even like that much work. Okay, like multiply that by like 5 years. It's like, okay, now I have like a lot more like just like friends or like people that I'm in like a random state. Like for example, like remember when we were in like Texas and like that guy just like went over to his house, we like went shooting, and like it was like a really good time, and like it wouldn't like you couldn't even have like paid for that type of experience, or just because I had this like random guy that I knew in Texas, and like we had like a really great day. So I think that's what I like the most about it, is like what it actually does for your life outside of like work. Like but then the work stuff's good too. Like it drives leads. Like I was at a networking event the other night, and like a girl whatever like added me on LinkedIn, and then after like that viral post I noticed that she signed up for a free trial of the software, and so like it's a little bit of retargeting even for like any sort of like sales engagement that costs $0. So I think it's good.
What I'm always so cautious of like trying to do too many things not well versus just like, okay, what's our biggest growth channel that can 10x us? But it's tough because like,
well, the thing with the personal brand is it's going to compound on any other growth channel that you test as well. Like it's going to be an additional touch point. So if you're like spending a lot more on like just Google ads or something, like your personal brand is now just like also like potentially like bottom of funnel for like the Google ads, or it's like top of funnel, and then then you retarget them on Google ads because they like went to your LinkedIn bio and like clicked on Wizza, and then they hit the YouTube ad. It all just feeds into like one thing. But speaking of like doing too many things like not well, like that, I'm only going to do LinkedIn. Like I'm going to like randomly post shit on Twitter, like as I have been, but I'm not thinking how can I make this stuff go viral on Twitter. I'm like, or like Instagram or anything like that, I'm only going to do LinkedIn for like this 30 days. And just
right.
Because I've also just like the reach is a lot more than all of the other platforms just by posting stuff.
And for like business content.
And it's like, yeah, it's like 100% business. So
right.
It's good.
Yeah. You know who's like, if someone likes it, you know exactly who
they are,
is.
or like where they work. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
We started with a new like SEO agency, like technical SEO. This guy is insane. And the Google SEO is just like an insane world. He's trying to improve our directory. We have like 30 million pages now. And we found out that only like we get so much traffic from it. Only like 1.5 million are even displayed by Google. Like Google, for technical reasons, has decided to avoid 28.5 million. Yeah, they've not indexed 28.5 million of our pages. So that's like the biggest thing. I'm like, yeah, if we could 20x our
I mean that's like
traffic,
that's like a 10x on like the business. So that's really cool. How'd you find the guy?
Our VP of marketing found him.
Oh, cool.
So
do you know how you found him? Like you knew him before?
No,
or like
I have no idea. He just took a bunch of calls. I think something I do that's not that well is like not that good is I just pick the first like agency, or I pick like the first two. I'm like, I don't want to sit on like 20 calls. And he's like, oh, I'm looking into SEO agencies. And then he'll have like 15 calls and be like, okay, this guy stood out clearly as the winner. And then started with him. I'm like, this guy's insane.
I mean, that's also like, when that's super clear is when even when you're maybe hiring someone and you like meet with someone, you're like, oh, like I think I want to hire this person. And then you do like another interview with someone else and you're like, oh fuck, thank God I didn't hire that guy. Like this guy's so much better.
I know.
There is like a time when you have to be like, okay, you have to like choose, but like, it's like there's always something else.
Yeah.
That's like probably, will completely shatter your conviction that you had in the thing that you thought you wanted.
Yeah. I think I'm too optimistic.
Dude, I'm super optimistic. I'm like, oh, you're gonna solve my problems. Like
that's the founder's dilemma, because like if you weren't optimistic, you would have never started a company because you would have thought it.
You also like feel the pain of any problem the most in most cases.
But yeah, you
so
just want
like,
to fix.
Fuck, this is on my shoulder. You just want to fix.
Yeah.
Like, get this off my plate. Whereas like if someone's like completely pragmatic, being like, I'm just gonna try to find the best SEO person. They have no preconceived like thing of like this is the what it's causing me in my personal life. Like they're obviously gonna be like, that's actually like an interesting insight.
So there's a book called the what's it called?
I know, bro.
The computer, the science of making decisions, I think it is. And basically they found out, they wanted to find out like, what are some of these like human decisions that we make and how do we like solve it with math and computer science? And And so one of the dilemmas...
The science of intelligent decision-making? Is it a bunch of bowls of cereal?
No.
Brilliant. The art and science
I'll
of making
find out what
decisions.
it's none of those.
Okay.
Google like computer science decision-making. Pull it up, Jamie.
Decision-making. Book.
It's coming.
Algorithms to live by. I don't think so, bro. I think you're making this up.
Yeah, whatever. I'm going to find it. But the main one that I found interesting was what they wanted to figure out was, it's this hypothetical scenario, and it's been like a math problem for a while, where you're interviewing 100 people for an assistant, for an assistant role. When someone comes in for an interview, you have to either say yes, you'll hire them, or no. If you say no, they're never coming back. Almost like think like a relationship,
like super binary.
Yeah, it's like you say yes or no, and if you say no, they're never coming back. So the question is, at what point do you say yes? Because you obviously don't want to say yes to the first person.
Oh, right.
Because you have no comparison.
I heard this actually on Lex Friedman's podcast.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of a famous like.
Yeah, they did the study on relationships.
So some people talk about it from like a relationship,
but like, there's actually like a study on the relationship one, I think.
Oh,
like
a
large study, and I think the number or something was like 30 first dates.
Okay, so first dates. Okay, this is a bit different, but in this case, with these interviews, the answer is 26, I believe.
Okay,
I'll double check, but it's something in the 20s.
Okay,
where after you've done 26, or you could call it roughly a quarter of the interview. So if let's say you're hiring someone, you're willing to do 20 interviews.
Right.
Once you're a quarter in, you've done 5, any next person that is the best yet, you should hire right away. So if you've done 26 and then on the 27th, you're like, this is the best of the 26, you should hire them right away.
Okay.
So I try to think about that in like different ways of like,
I mean, I wonder like how big the number needs to be for for the statistic to be significant, right? Like if you're only interviewing 3 people,
it's
after
now
one,
irrelevant.
it's irrelevant. And I feel like the complexity of the issue must also, like how many decisions within this one decision are you like making, right? Like, is it like, because if you're interviewing an employee, it's like comp, it's like this, it's like, right?
There's too many pieces. It's not as bad.
But I think it's like a good like frame, but like definitely don't work from the numbers. Probably. It's like a good like mental model.
Hiring is insane. It's definitely the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Like
whenever I would hear people say like, oh, the job of like a CEO or a founder is just to like assemble a team, I was like, fuck off. Like maybe like, no, like not really. And like, I mean, I think my reaction to that was just because I really don't like doing it.
Yeah.
But it definitely like is true. Like there just gets to a point where there's a good, like there's this X amount of work and you need X amount of people to like execute on it. And so you want, if anything needs to be executed on, you want the best person. And so therefore, like who's going to find the best person? It's like, you're going to find the best person.
Right.
Like,
no, when you find someone and hire someone that's better than you at the thing they're doing, it's the best.
It's the best feeling in the entire world. Yeah.
Like you get on a call with them for like something, and someone asks a question, and you're like, they're better suited to answer this than I am. It's like, whoa, and the company you're building feels more like a
thing
organism, like like its own.
Like you could die and it wouldn't completely just like end.
Yeah.
If I died, I think it would end quickly. But like they would have like a bit of like, I was talking to the team the other day. I was like, if we all just like fucking died, like how long would the Stripe charges go until they hit 0? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like and we decided on that we would probably hit a dispute rate. Like there would be some critical bug that would come up, and then the business would stop once the chargeback rate, we got banned from Stripe.
Right.
Is this or nobody paid? I mean, actually, no. There's a way quick sooner one. And I think now that I'm thinking this through, it's if nobody pays the credit card, then the hosting bill shuts off.
Right.
That would be the first. So if you wanted to die and keep your business, you just like set up auto pay on your credit cards and
just test it out.
Yeah, just disappear for like a little while. Me and my friend had this like, we were like pretty hammered one night at a marketing conference event, and we're like, what would be like the craziest like marketing stunt that we could do? And we were like, what if we pretended to get kidnapped, like both of us at this marketing conference, and like start to put out these things, like our team being like, hey, we haven't heard from Noah or Zach, like what's going on, like all this type of shit. And then like Twitter would slowly blow up, and like people are trying to like look whatever. We had to like make sure that nobody filed a missing persons report.
I think that's when it becomes illegal.
That's when it becomes illegal. And then we're like, and then we just like come back like, oh yeah, we just got too drunk, guys, like at this event. But we're not gonna do that.
I love the marketing stunt stuff,
dude. The marketing stunt stuff's fun. Like I started like just flipping through Trust Me, I'm Lying. Have you read that book?
No.
It's Ryan Holiday's.
Okay, his first book.
It's his first book. I haven't like sat down and actually read it for like a reason that I'll go into next, which is that I'm like reading something else. That's like very like time bound. But anyway, I've been like flipping through it because it's like a cool book. And there's just like so much like good shit in there. And I'm like, wow, like this would be, because that was when he was like 20 years old. Like, and it was like, man, if you just give like that's the best job in the world. Yeah. He was like 20 years old, like thinking up crazy things for like companies. I mean, it's probably one of those things where at the time you probably thought it sucked, and looking back, it's like, oh, this was so cool, but super cool. But the reason why I'm not like fully reading that book right now is because I've started studying for my pilot's license, and so like one, it's been like super fun. Two, it's like I'm like starting to have to like study again, and like I define study as like like learn something for the only outcome of like
a test.
And I'm like trying to be like good at studying, because like all through school I pretty much just like cheated. And I'm like, okay, I definitely can't cheat on my pilot's license because like I don't want to die. whatever. But I've been like, wow, like learning how, because I probably haven't taken a test in like 6 or 7 years. It's made me think that after I'm done this, I want to consistently have a thing that I'm studying, like not for a test, but like in where I'm like applying the mindset of studying. Because like I feel like whenever I go out and try to learn something, it's like to like achieve like an outcome in the business or like to make more money. But I think like the level of like detail you get into through like the mindset of just like studying, which is like acquiring knowledge, will essentially just like build like a larger map of just like expertise, in which when then I have to like go out and like do one of these like task-based knowledge acquisition things, I'll just be like way better at it.
Yeah.
And I'll have like a lot more data points. And I've been like doing like really like just like small like optimizations. Like how can I like fit studying in where I don't feel like I'm like, oh, I should be working in the business, but I'm trying to get my fucking pilot's license.
Right.
But it's just like, I've been doing cardio in the mornings, like on like very low intensity cardio, like on a treadmill or like a stair thing with like the videos or whatever. And I'm like, oh, like this feels like very optimized.
Right.
And so, yeah, anyway, I'm going to try to hone this like schedule in of like studying. And then after I'm done my pilot's license, I'm going to try to not let that schedule, I'm just going to try to fill that schedule with some other thing that I want to study. I don't know what it is yet, but
yeah,
it'll be more, won't be as disconnected as pilot's license. So it would be like, oh, I really want to understand finance.
Right.
And like just spend a month really trying to understand like, and like get to not even like 80-20, like how can I understand finance more than like 98% of the people?
Right.
Which I think is like actually pretty easy. Like I think you do that in a month.
Right. Yeah. Do you find like I don't know if it's like running a company or just like being more like mature or like as a kid, I didn't give a shit to learn anything, but like I find like if I am studying something or trying to learn something now, like I can absorb the information so much easier than like when I was younger. And they say like it's the opposite.
Well, I mean, I think running a company, like, I mean, if you just like stop acquiring information, then I think it's just like a steady downhill.
Right.
And like there's all those like studies about like Alzheimer's, all this kind of stuff where it's like if you actually stop studying, and you stop learning, and that's why there's all these like brain game apps and stuff like that. And so, boy, your question is like, why do you think it's easier? I mean, you might just be like a more curious person, right? Like if you look at the 12-year-old version of yourself, like you were curious, but maybe you weren't curious about just like random knowledge. It also might be that you've seen the payoff of what knowledge acquisition can equal in your life, like subconsciously, where it's like, oh, like because I know this much more than this many people, I then get this positive outcome in my life. You actually don't have that frame of reference at all as a kid.
Yeah.
Like you just be like, oh, I'm just gonna grow up and like hopefully make money. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, but if you've experienced like, oh, like because I acquired this skill, I was able to make this money or I was able to do this thing, and like you have that positive feedback loop. That's actually an interesting thing about education, where it's like, I mean, how would you even I mean I guess part of like, I guess that's why maybe people like incentivize their kids to get good marks, right? Like,
right. And
it's like, oh, like I got a 90 and like therefore now I have this cool hockey stick or something,
right?
You know, like maybe that is like a good way to parent.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing hockey lessons right now.
Yeah.
Once a week, and like even stuff like that, I'm like, I you know that like quote that I love, but like when you know the way broadly, you see it in all things.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, okay, I know how to acquire like a new skill now, and like you just like shut your brain off and like, okay, I'm gonna go to lessons once a week, whatever. Like I'm gonna shut my brain off to that. I'm signed up. I'm committed. Like whatever. And like I just know over time I'll get better, and like I'm able to just kind of like forget about it and just like look back and be like, well, I've gotten so much better.
Yeah.
Or like all these different skills that kind of come from, I don't know, I guess just like doing new things. Or
I mean, it's the thing I like the most. Like, I remember like I think when we had first met, I was doing that like YouTube series, like the 24-hour challenge, where it's like what I was doing was like every Sunday I'd give myself 24 hours to like learn a new thing. So like when like Snapchat lenses came out, I was like, I'm going to just try to make a Snapchat lens in like 24 hours and like figure this out. And like, I mean, I might be lying, but like, I feel like I don't have time for that right now, but like, I long for like that was like so much like fun. And like, I always like jump from like hobby to hobby. Like there's like, and I was over the Christmas break, I was like talking to my mom, but like, oh, this is like all the stuff I'm going to do this year. And she's like, yeah, like you've literally never changed. Like when you were a kid, you were just like wanted to play like every sport.
Right.
You didn't have a favorite ever. Like it was, you know, it was just like I just wanted to like do everything. And so I think for me, like the new stuff is just like who I am as a person. I think for you too, like you've had like a bunch of personalities and chapters.
Right.
Right. Like even if you think like you're like in fitness, like you've had like both of us have like a bunch of different like versions of ourselves. Right.
But some things stick. Like I find like, but you have to give something a year. Like, and at that point, I think you can look back and be like, I've noticed like, you can look back after a year and be like jujitsu was a good example where I was like, I felt like I was having to push myself to go to jujitsu, even though I enjoyed it. And at the end of it, I was like, that was fun. I was just like, I'm still each time like, oh, okay, I signed up, I gotta go.
Right.
Versus like CrossFit or whatever, something I'm like more interested in. It's like, I feel like I'm pulled to it. It's like, oh, I really want to like go do that. And so like, but you have to give something a year before you really can see like
if you're pulled
if you're a push or a pull. Yeah, because I think the
novelty for me wears off a lot quicker than a year.
No, it does. I think that's the.
But you think you have to push through the novelty?
I think you have to push through that point where it's like, okay, I feel like I've done this enough, like, which is probably like 3 to 6 months, depends what it is.
Right. I think for me, it's also just like at like some point in like acquiring a new skill or doing a new activity, I just like zoom out a little bit and I try to see like, okay, like if I actually continue this for like 18 months, like would I be really excited about that outcome?
Right.
And if I'm not that excited about that outcome, then I should probably just stop doing this thing.
100%.
You know, like I think that's like the perspective to like see it through. I guess the only thing for me that is like running. I'm always like pulled to it. And then like travel, like it's very hard for me to say no to like a trip, like anywhere. You can say no to trips. Like
I can say no to a lot of trips.
You can say a lot of trips. I like for me, it's like you said like some random country. I'd be like, yeah, like fuck yeah, like I'll go and do that. Like of course,
dude. Now that COVID has ended, like the odd time I'll want to go somewhere warm, but other than that, like because I felt that during COVID, I guess because it was like very boring.
I mean, it was also like the best time in the world to travel.
It was a good time.
Like, the most blissful, like nobody in the airport.
It felt so good.
It was so good.
But now I'm like, I don't give a shit to go anywhere ever. Like I'm totally happy here. Like,
didn't you just you texted me like a few days ago being like, I'm in a slump because I haven't went anywhere.
Yeah, no, I do feel that, but I feel like I need to go to Miami for 3 days, which I'm doing this weekend. Like I just need like a quick like kind of reset. But like any more than 3 days, I'm like, I need to get back home.
I agree with like I'm not stoked about the like most of my trips recently have been like I went too long.
Yeah.
And I think some of it's like I'm going here, so I might as well like extend it by a day. And then that day I'm like, fuck, I could kind of would rather be like back home, like in my routine.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I think I'm getting better at that.
I saw a meme that was like this guy working on his computer and there's like a thought bubble and it's like him on a beach, like drinking a cocktail or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's like under it, it's like him on a beach drinking a cocktail, and a thought bubble is like him at his office at work. And I'm like, that's
actually true.
So true.
That's the most true thing in the world. So in doing this, like, this is before I decided to go full LinkedIn only. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do like a cross-platform thing. And so I started looking for like a social media scheduling tool. And I probably tested 12 different ones. Not because I wanted to. I swear to God, dude, every social media scheduling tool is 10% away from being perfect. And they all are a different 10%. And I was like, fuck, like if I like had nothing to do, like this is what I would do. Like for like one like small example is like the closest one I found, like the best one with like good pricing and like had a lot of stuff that I wanted was like this thing called like Agora Pulse or something.
Terrible name.
Yeah, like I literally can't remember it. And like they had 2 small ones. It was like you could not change the YouTube thumbnail in their platform, and you couldn't, if you were posting from a company page on LinkedIn, you couldn't tag an individual. You could only tag companies. And I like read through their docs and like they had a fix, and then it broke, and then like and then I ended up sending a thing to like their chat. So I'm literally like 10% away from like finding the thing. They're like, oh yeah, like this, I don't think this feature is gonna come back. And I was like, okay, like if you take this one out, like this one feature out, like I might as well now just like publish them manually
myself. Yeah.
manually. And I'm like, fuck, like, it was like an interesting, I guess, yeah, like an interesting like insight. Like how many of, because it's just like, dude, like it just, I guess it's for us, like we have like a bunch of features that people will probably ask for forever, and it's like just not a priority, or like it's not making it whatever. But it is like an interesting mindset of like, hey, like someone was coming from like my tool, like my company, it's like, what would that like little tiny thing be that's like, oh, like I might as well just not even use it.
Yeah.
And if you find those and you should consistently find those, like that's actually like what you should be building.
Yeah. Yeah, like you can't overbuild for sure. I try and think like, okay, does this apply to like the core product? Which in this case it obviously does. Like that's like, that's obvious.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there's
well, for
so
only for
many
some users though,
requests.
right? It only applies to the core product for users that are posting from LinkedIn company profiles.
Right.
And it's like maybe they actually don't have a lot of those, and so like they're not prioritizing it.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. No, we launched our API and we get so many random requests.
Oh, when did you launch an API?
Maybe 2 months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
And so people will be like, hey, how do I delete lists?
Okay, here's
in the
something
API?
that I've been asking for you forever is email to LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'm just like, that's such a clear feature. Like I know exactly how I would use that. I know you would use it in like your own business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not our core. It's
Product.
not our core use case, but
for the API, like,
I
feel
agree.
Like it is
I
like
want
a
that.
very high use case. No, if someone's gonna be like, or I guess how do people use the Wiz API?
They mainly use the Wiz API. Well, there's two use cases. One is you have a product that, let's say there's one company we talked to today called Ocean, and what they do is they make lookalikes for companies. So I can put in Facebook and it'll show me Twitter and whatever, but it's really cool for like very like more niche things, obviously. And it actually does a really good job of like finding those companies, but they find these big lists of companies and now they want to say like, okay, here are people you can actually reach out to at those companies.
Got it.
So that's like a big one within a product. And then there's another one, like put in your site, like you'll probably be surprised what it comes up with into Ocean. But there's that, and then the other is like I have a CRM with a bunch of like contacts, keep them up to date. So they'll run them through Wiz API once a month and say like, okay, this guy moved on. We update the job title, stuff like that. But what you're speaking to is really the like contact enrichment. Was this accurate?
Is it supposed to be companies like us?
Yeah.
It's accurate. The thing I'm happy about is it does not have some of our quote unquote largest competitors.
Okay.
Which I'm very excited. Fucking losers.
Yeah.
You
So
don't
what
even
they
know.
do is they scrape the text on the website and like how you talk about the product and then compare it to like exact features and stuff like that.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's a pretty cool business. It's not perfect. Like I've put some things in, and for some like ChatGPT is actually better. But what we want to build is in our prospecting tool, you can say competitors of. So if I currently sell to Foreplay and now I'm like, okay, let's find some more customers.
Well, I had mentioned to you the lookalike feature in Wiz like a few months ago, I feel like.
Really? I don't remember
100%.
that.
Dude, you said it was a great idea. I was like, man, imagine if you had a Wiz list, right? And they exported 2,000 contacts. And I was like, why don't you give them a button that's like, give me more contacts like this, and like even discounted at 50% because like they didn't approve them.
Right.
Like almost like I'm feeling lucky, and like it's a 1.5x on your list scraping and like contact usage. You're like, that's a great idea.
The hard part is what makes someone like someone else can mean something totally different
to everybody.
to different people.
You get fields though, right? So for like LinkedIn, if it was a recruiter using Wiz, it could be like, I just want someone that has job description and like same college, like specific call or something.
Right.
Could be kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, we talked about the face thing we want to build.
Oh yeah.
So I could take a picture of you and it'll give me your email.
I don't think it's going to work.
It'll work.
I don't think it's going to work because like, it might work in the future, but the examples you gave me of why it could work, I think are flawed. Because it's you're trying to do one-to-one, and every example you gave me was one-to-many.
Okay, so my friend has a condo building. They have face recognition, and that's how he enters
To log in,
and so to get into the building.
Right. So it's reading that one face,
Yeah.
but then it also is excluding all the other faces that doesn't look like him.
Right. We would do the same.
But I don't think the facial recognition, I mean, yeah, that's actually a good example. That is one-to-one, now that I think about it.
Yeah, it's gotten really good. And that PimEyes tool, so there's a company called PimEyes that we were looking at it in Scottsdale a while ago. You can upload a photo and it'll find other photos of that person.
Online.
But sometimes they'll only have one other photo.
Right.
And I'm like, that's a photo of me, but I'm like, that was me like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
In a headshot.
I forgot about that tool.
It's pretty
really
crazy.
Creepy. It's really creepy.
Yeah.
I remember we would put our photos in that, and it would pick out us in like a photo from like a random event we were at when we were like 16 years old in the background. Yeah, that's true. But over text, you're like, oh, because I went to this CrossFit tournament and I took a photo. I was like, yeah, but that's a small sample size and like whatever.
But that could work with one photo.
I think if you guys launch that properly, not as like a business use case, but as like a viral marketing use case.
It'll be a free page. It'll literally just be like and it'll be like, whoa, okay, their tech is cool.
Dude, the headline is like, if you take a photo of this person on the subway, you can get their phone number.
Yeah.
Like that is an insane like hook, you know?
There's actually some use cases because we were trying to think like, could anyone actually use this in like a B2B perspective?
Yeah,
and I was thinking like, conference
photos,
posts.
Bro, imagine you had like linking with a conference photo, everybody in the photo, and then you can just like click to reveal
it's like,
email.
Here's everyone that was in that like conference photo.
That'd be wild.
And are you gonna get everyone? No, not everyone looks exactly like their like headshot on LinkedIn.
Most
but like,
people don't.
but at least like that's like a high quality photo to base everything off.
Hopefully,
usually,
or it's like some AI generated thing.
Yeah.
They look 10 times more aggressive. Yeah, 10 times more attractive than they do. I have like a random question that could go both ways. Okay. If I wasn't doing what I was doing now, and like try to make it like not super aligned, what do you think is a business that I would be good at?
It can go both ways.
Look, I'll tell you the business that I think,
and
I haven't thought about this. I actually just wrote the question down, but I actually haven't thought about
question.
It. But like based on what you know, and like you can't be like, oh, B2B software in ads, and I can't be like B2B software in contact. Centered.
Contact
or whatever.
Contact center stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I see you as a creative, so like, I think like, I mean, it's kind of hard because you were doing the agency stuff before, but it's got to be in marketing.
Okay.
Which, like, let's say it's not. Let's take software aside, and I think you actually get like really excited about new things, like the novelty thing. So I could see you running an agency for brands where you can come up with, you know, not necessarily like building the brand, but like these very cool sort of like campaigns. So like some kind of agency.
I was like, if I were to like do it, like I think I would do that, except for the fact that I never want to go back to agency work ever again, unless it was something like what like Johnny Ive has now, where it's like product design as well as like marketing. It's kind of just like problems to solve. I think being like a creative consulting, like actually there's probably a bunch of people that call themselves a creative consulting firm, like not that, really kind of like large problems where you almost have to assemble a new team for like every single thing could be really cool. Like if I were to do that, or I think I would like 100% do like something with like architecture, because I've always wanted to be an architect. And so I was like, but I wouldn't want to be an architect. Like I would want to like do like some sort of like really cool project where it was like a moonshot project and like just raise like a fuck ton of money, like some like not something like this. I think it's actually stupid, but like the line in not the line, the thing in Saudi Arabia where it's you know, like something like that, or something like that I think would be like I think I could do.
I can imagine something where it's like people come to you and they're like, okay, we have 50 million allocated to this. You can go any direction you want. Ultimately, we want to do something really cool.
I would do some wild shit. like, I go like 10 ideas and like 3 of them would be illegal.
And it's like, okay, we're going to build this like we're going to build this store, but everyone
Right.
that comes in the store, like they get this experience or whatever. So it's like this combination of like things, like an experiential. Yeah. I don't know what you call that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think mine for you, so here's my criteria that I'm trying to think through.
Okay.
I think it needs to be like very repeatable and like simple. Because I feel like I feel like I get excited about like the random offshoots. And
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah,
fuck
yeah.
that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I think it needs to be like very simple yet incredibly repeatable. Like I think you could build like the next Chipotle. Like actually.
Yeah. Well,
And I think it could be like in the way that like Chipotle is like known as like a health food like store, but it's not really like it's just like, oh, they have like decent macros, so like it kind of has been like injected into the fitness community. And I think there's been like companies that try to do this like Sweet, but not that fucking lame, like whatever. I think you could build like, and that's where like Sweet Green's like not that repeatable because like the market size is actually pretty small of like people that want to eat that type of food. Like I think in the way that like Chipotle could be eaten as like a fast food type thing, but also like I think you could like do the next Chipotle.
well, yeah.
And, like have like 100,000 stores.
I would love to have something that's a bit like, I love software, but like to have something that's very
Physical.
tangible, physical, and like your job is like flying out to new locations. And,
After you say you don't like traveling,
yeah, then it'd be work.
Every software founder probably wants a physical business. Every physical business owner wants a software.
Oh yeah.
And so the moment with either of us, I'm like, oh, I'm building this fucking thing. I'll be like, fuck, I kind of just want to sell a widget on Chrome or something.
Yeah.
But it is like you just want what you can't have. I think it's like an interesting exercise. To also like, I was like thinking when I wrote this question, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do his because I didn't want to cheat. But I did a bunch of other people, and I was like, this is an interesting exercise of like trying to like identify like traits about people and like how it can actually apply to like commercialization.
Or like their best trait, like,
Right.
you know, like, or like, yeah, kind of like what motivates them. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, thanks.
We should come up with that one.
Dude, I was literally, I mean, we haven't had really that many notes for this episode, and I was like sitting here and I was like, what's a question that I think both of it would apply to both of us? I was like, that's a good one. Kind of curious. All right. What else do you have? Anything else you want to talk about? I have a fucking note in here that just says founder groups. I think I just want to like maybe like talk about our thoughts on them.
Okay.
Both of us have joined a bunch.
Yeah.
Not a bunch. A healthy amount of like paid founders groups.
Yeah.
And last week I had a dinner at one that we're both a part of, Hampton, that you didn't go to. And it like actually sunk in that I actually really liked them because I was kind of on the fence. So I want to know what your current mindset is on founder groups, whether they're a waste of time. What do you think makes like a good one?
Yeah, I think like, so in that particular group, I've been in 2 separate groups. Each time I didn't feel like I was getting value. So I left the monthly meetup things. So I think it has to be adjacent industry. I really don't think it can be like all that different.
Yeah.
I think like having in person is like incredibly important.
Dude, that's what I was gonna say. It was like, because I was like kind of like pissed off about like some of like my online stuff with this group, and then I went to the dinner and I was like, well, thank God I'm a part of this. Like,
yeah.
And I was like, it really sunk in that I think a lot of these groups are trying to do like the online thing. But if I'm really thinking about it, like the things that I specifically for this group that I like the most are like the in-person stuff, which is hard because then you're only like super big. Hampton's good because there's like pods and stuff like that, which is nice. But I think in person, I was like, wow, this is, and it's been making me think like more and more. Oh, and I went to that other dinner the other night that Aaron put on, and that was really good. And like, I was like, yeah, like in person is definitely the best. And what I like zeroed it down to is that like, I like doing things with my life outside of work. But there is just still like a level of like, that is, I think is always going to exist, like guilt in like doing pleasurable things when you could be like working. And,
Right.
like you have these goals and like you said them and you told all these people you're going to do them and you're not going to do them right now. Like I think that's always going to exist.
Yeah.
And so what I think that the founders group do a good job of is I get to do these like things that I want to do with my life. Like we're going to go on this like surf trip with Hampton, whatever. I wanted to go on a surf trip. This is a way that I can kind of do it. And like while I'm there, even though it's a kind of lie to myself, the guilt and anxiety around like not working is gone. And so like in a way I'm like, oh, maybe like same thing. Like we go to like a poker game every once in a while and it's all founders. Dude, if you were to tell me that like relatively religiously I was going to play poker on a Wednesday night, like there's no fucking way. But like in a weird way, because it's like a bunch of other founders and like there is like small nuggets of value, it's like I actually feel like I can enjoy my time. And I'm like, that's the fucking key, is that like I'm a little bit sick in a way that like I literally can't like enjoy doing things. And it's like this is like a little hack to like actually like relax and enjoy time. And it seems backwards because you're like, if you wanted to relax, like, oh, you shouldn't do any work. But I actually think it's like, no, like you just do work and like while doing a thing that you wanted to do, or with people that are like relatively adjacent that could aid in your goals in the future.
I think it's like, I feel the same thing where it's like if you're not progressing towards your goals, I feel like I'm like dying. And so like when you have that like justification, that's why like I think when people have like kids and have a family, probably a big goal of theirs is to have like a really strong like family relationship and like good like kids upbringing or whatever. And so like when they go away with their family, they actually feel like good about that because it's like it's contributing to that goal. Whereas like if I go with like two of my buddies like on a partying trip, I'm like, oh my god, like what am I doing with my life?
Right.
Know?
It's like, and you actually it's not even that you don't even enjoy the experience. It like ends up being like a negative experience. Like it completely flips it where you're like, I would actually just rather be at home. Like I spent all this money, I'm taking this time away and I'm not enjoying it. Anyway, so like that's my like, it's like a little bit of kind of like a depressing like thought, being like, oh, like I actually don't think I'll ever be able to. And it's the same thing with like, I think that's maybe like why I do like all these like little random like endurance things.
Right.
Like,
you're working towards something.
It's like, oh, like at least I'm working towards something. Like, and like I don't have that like pit in my stomach being like, oh, like you're gonna like look back and like you're not gonna achieve whatever you wanted. But if like you shifted and like,
I don't think it's depressing. I think it's positive because it's.
I mean, it's positive, but it I think the realization of like, because like all of those things sound good at the planning stage. I don't actually feel that until like I'm like in it, and so I think it's just like, oh, like it's just like a realization that of like, oh, look, there's gonna be like a bunch of stuff that sounds good that I like now with this new frame of mind, I have to say no to because it's almost like I've seen behind the curtain.
Right,
like,
you know,
I know exactly what and it's like. That's the only part. I'm like, oh fuck, man! Like
you've ruined the illusion.
I've ruined the illusion of like. But then I'm saving myself from like whatever.
Yeah,
and it sounds like super like, I don't know, like first worldy, but like it's like like if I go on like a quote unquote vacation, it's like you had this summer, right? Like didn't you come back from a vacation early? Like, it's like annoying. It's like an annoying thing, but whatever.
Yeah, no, I think it's a net positive, but. On the group side, so I've been wanting to been waiting for my house to finish, which it now is. So I've been wanting to do like a founder dinner because I think the best case is you don't need a massive group because how many people are you actually going to meet? Like that's why the poker things are pretty good because like it's like 10 people. So you actually do kind of like if you go a few weeks, you've talked to everyone. So like a hand selected group of people, and when you're putting on whatever event it is, like you have a reason to talk to everyone. Like it makes it a lot easier. So I think like actually hosting these things is like not very difficult. So I'm gonna do like a founder dinner where it's just like free food, get a chef like at my house and get like free drinks, whatever, but actually pick like who are people that like I feel like I would get value from.
Right.
And hopefully the group just like either continues or gets better and goes week to week, or maybe start doing it like multiple times. It's interesting
because you have to, I've thought about this actually, how to do this like right. It's almost like you have to start with 3, right?
3 people?
Yeah. And then you have to vote one person off the island, and then the next week you go 4, and then the 2 from the previous week have to vote one you know what I'm saying? Like you have to like let the group self-select itself over time, because if you started with like 7, right, the odds that all 7 should actually stay in the group are like very, very low.
Yeah.
And so like, but you can't then be like cherry pick. You almost have to build it into the structure of like, it's going to grow very, very slowly at like one person per week. And then
what if you just started with 7 and you're like,
and then you reinvite.
The whole notion of it is at the end, everyone's going to get an email and they have to select one person they feel like provided the least value to the group.
Right. Yeah. But then you only have room for one more person the next week.
And then you add them in and then the same process happens the next week until you get a group.
I feel like there is a level of like, once you're in the group,
like the new person's.
And then it's like, there's like politics involved and like, because it is, yeah, like they might, because like the 7 might select well for you, but then it's like, well, number 6 in the group might really hate 1 and 2 or something.
Or you can just be the curator. Or you can invite 7 and say like, okay, these people like didn't offer much to the conversation or whatever. But I think also another thing you have to do is like kind of like have questions and stuff that everyone like everyone like meets, drinks a bit, and it's like, okay, these are like,
they did it at the last Hampton one and it was really good.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of
it sounds stupid that the icebreaker thing, right? But it like actually,
what did they ask?
Describe the biggest risk you've ever taken and the outcome. And then that led to like a bunch of offshoot conversations of every person's thing. And there's like a lot of really good stories. That's the cool thing with Hampton too, is like, it's also like really wide gamut of age, which is like really nice. I think that's the other thing too, with like making a good group is like, if everybody's like a bunch of just like internet kids, which I think some of the ones that we've been a part of, like we've left because that's the case. Like there's only so much you can actually learn because you're at the exact same stage.
Right.
But like, even for someone that's like, let's just say they're like 55, like they have more to learn from us than another 55-year-old, and like vice versa. And so I think that's like another like feature that is like good of like a good group is like wide diversity of age range. I think it's good to have relatively the same businesses at that time. Yeah. But age range I think is actually really good.
Yeah.
Or age of business.
Yeah. No, I think where a lot of these groups go wrong is like they're just too big. Yeah. And like they say they're so selective of who they take in, but like it's a business at the end of the day and they want more members.
Yeah, the incentive is to grow.
Yeah. And so like if it's like hey, I'm putting together a group of 20 people all in Toronto, they all have to meet this criteria, whatever, and we're going to build it over time through these like 8 people dinners. I think you can build like a pretty good group, and you don't need to know 5,000 people. Right. Like 20 people would be a lot.
Yeah. The benefit of doing it that way is like you actually don't need to grow it. Like for them, it's business, so they need to grow it.
Right.
But there's no value in that in a lot of ways. I mean, like EY and like early, and stuff like that. What is it? EO?
EO is one, but like YPO is probably the biggest. Yeah.
But like they do like intimate group with big, like that's what
it's
Amazon's
mainly an intimate group.
It's not the same.
Yeah. Like from what I've heard about YPO is like the groups are in like when you join, it's like you're going to know these people for the next 30 years.
I heard there's like a rule where you couldn't it was like frowned upon to make any life decision without consulting the group. Like it was like, if you're going to get a divorce, you have to consult the group.
Yeah.
It was like everything. Like you could not make a big life decision. It was like, it would be looked at as like sketchy.
Yeah. Like that's pretty sweet.
That's like, that's like ideal.
Yeah.
It's like a cult.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of value in that. And at the end of the day, these groups are expensive. Like, we each pay, how much is it? $5,000 a year?
It's 10 now.
Okay. So let's say we're paying $10,000 a year. Between us, that's $20,000.
Right.
If you host a monthly dinner, how much is that going to cost? Like
right.
For a chef, whatever.
Dude, I'm planning an event right now in New York, for this event. And it's like, not like, it's expensive to plan events, but not, and like, I used to think it was a lot of work. We just like found this girl that's like willing to plan the event for a free ticket, and like she's done all these other events, and like they're really great, and she's like sending me like photos of like and I'm like, perfect. Like I just got to say yes, no, maybe so. Like it's like really solid. But I think we're at an hour, so maybe wrap it up. And if you want to be in our sick group, send Steven an email. All right, this will be good.